Welcome to today on social trends. So today, the latest on Twitter and on the internet is that Peace Mass Transit loses in court, no refund after payment. So today, a judgment was given against Peace Mass Transit for their refusal to refund a 500 naira transport fare to a certain Mr. Patrick C. Chukwuma, and this Mr. Patrick was also awarded 500,000 naira damages against Peace Mass Transit. So this means that Peace Mass Transit will pay Mr. Patrick 500,000 naira worth of damages. So what happened and why is Peace Mass Transit paying 500,000 naira damages as against 500 naira? On July 28, 2021, Patrick Sichwum, a legal practitioner with a law firm of Eze, Dimude, Eze & Co., filed a suit against Peace Mass Transit Limited, challenging the latter's policy of no refund of money after payment. This incident occurred on 10/2/2021. This incident occurred last year when the plaintiff here is the Mr. Patrick, purchased a ticket from the Obolafo branch of Peace Mass Transit Limited to convey him to Enugu. Following the 2 hours delay occasioned by the absence of passengers, the plaintiff returned to the ticketing office and asked for a refund of 500 naira he paid as transportation fare. So this man bought a ticket from Obolafo to Enugu, 500 naira worth, and after waiting for 2 hours, the bus still hasn't moved because passengers are not enough. So the man went to where they are selling tickets and asked them to refund him his 500 naira as he couldn't wait any longer. Now the staff refused to refund him the money, insisting that it is the company's policy that once a transport fare is paid, it cannot be refunded, which they also show as written on their tickets. So they said that staff of the defendant, however, refused to refund the money, insisting that the company's policy was that money paid for transport fare cannot be returned to the passenger, citing the statement written on their ticket to that effect as conclusive proof of their position. When Barrister Chuma tried to explain to them that the policy was unlawful, the man tried to explain to them no be so, that this thing is against the law, as the law mandates them to refund fares for services that have not been provided. They retorted in a rude manner. So the law states that if somebody paid you for a service and you've not rendered that service, then you are mandated to pay them back the money they paid you for the service. But Peace Mass said no, they won't do it like that. So prompting the learned counsel to leave their park and seek alternative means of traveling back to Enugu. A letter written by the lawyer to Peace Mass Transit of companies demanding an apology and refund was neglected, prompting the lawyer's law firm to institute suit number E/514/2021 Patrick Chukwuwike Chukwuma vs. Peace Mass Transit Limited. The suit asked the court to determine a sole question, which was whether the defendant's policy of no refund of money after payment is in violation of Section 120 of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018. So they said that what the plaintiff asked the court was whether Peace Mass Transit's policy of no refund after payment, if it doesn't violate the Section 120 of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018. Especially when the contractual obligation to convey the plaintiff to his preferred location was terminated. The plaintiff, through his team of lawyers led by Barrister Tochukwu Odo, amongst other grounds, argued that the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018 is the primary law on questions of consumer transaction in Nigeria, and that by virtue of Section 120 of the law, the consumer has a right to cancel any advance booking, reservation, or order for any goods and services, subject only to deduction of a reasonable charge by the service provider. So he's saying that basically this Section 120 of the law says that as a customer, you can cancel any services you booked in advance, or reservation, or even any order you place, you can cancel it in advance, only that the person rendering the service to you will just deduct a small reasonable charge, like you can call it like service charge, since you didn't go through with the service again. They will just deduct a reasonable amount. It's not that if you pay 5k, they will go and cut 2.5 as the charge. So the defendant, through their counsel, Barrister Titus Odo, raised technical arguments on the jurisdiction of the court and mode of commencement of the suit. Honorable Justice C.O. Aja of the High Court of Justice, in his judgment delivered on 7th April 2022, this was yesterday, promptly dismissed the objections of the defendant and upheld the arguments of the plaintiff. The Honorable Judge, after a thorough analysis of the provisions of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018, vis-a-vis the conduct of the parties in the case, decided that indeed the policy of non-refund of money after payment is illegal. So from henceforth, if you paid for a service and you didn't get the service again, and then you want a refund, and whoever the service provider doesn't want to refund you, then you should know that they are illegal and you can sue them as well. So null and void in light of the provisions of section 120, 104, 129, 1A and B, subsection 3 of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018. The court thereafter made a declaration that the refusal of the defendant to refund the plaintiff the money paid for the transportation fee from Obulaafo to Enugu on 10/2001 is unlawful. The court further ordered the defendant to pay the sum of 500,000 naira as damages to the plaintiff. This case puts service provider on notice that more Nigerians are now alive to the rights as citizens and will not hesitate to enforce same should the need arise. It also puts an end to the menace of service providers who collect money from consumers and refuse to refund same when they don't offer the services which the money was collected for on the first place. So can you see, from 500 naira to 500,000 naira, something they could have generally refunded their 500 naira, but now they're going to be paying a whole sum of 500,000 naira. Left for me, I'd say well deserved. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.